The Chinese have got these thing called social credits where if you misbehave and get a tick against you, eventually you can sort of be put on the side and blacklisted from getting a ride on a bus or a train or a plane, which is rather cruel, unforgiving, and uncivilized. Regardless, it may be a greater organisation, and what it's doing is fabulous. There's no, I would spend a year in China. What China's doing is amazing. Take my hat off to them. But nonetheless, God help the world if they think they're going to dominate the world and be inhumane and punish people permanently forever if they don't comply to their stringent rules of behaviour, because that's inhuman. What Chinese are doing right now, they went from, before the Communist Party came in, they had a system what caused the Communist Party, Tung, one of the great heroes of the world, however anyone writes him off or whatever, his intentions were for the benefit of the Chinese people. But it was a difficult thing for him to attain because Chiang Kai-shek and all that and a Japanese thing. Otherwise it might have been not such a disastrous story for them. But nonetheless, now they've got this ultimate power and control over the people. They're dehumanising the people to all perfect like robots. The Communist Party itself is turning the people into a bunch of robots. And if the Communist Party wants to say, oh, I've got tickets on itself because we're all so perfect, which is all well and good, but I keep buying stuff from China that only lasts a few weeks, I got to throw it away, like solar lights and stuff lasts a few weeks, I throw them away. So I can't credit, for all their high and mighty stuff about themselves, the quality of some of their goods is very low. So that should be a credit against Chinese people or against the Communist Party for allowing to sending goods out of the country that are such poor quality, they're unreliable. No matter how cheap they are, they're just plainly unreliable. And what's that? That's channeling shonky goods out into the West to make profit out of other people without a conscience. And the profits, and that's the problem with the world generally speaking. Whether it's America's, just as America's worse. America's got thousands and thousands and thousands of people who are permanently homeless and they're rancid and running their cities with this bullshit of can't distribute the income a bit better than they are. So this is not this social disaster. What's happened in America is terrible. But let's look at China. By ostracizing people, by blackmailing them permanently, that's ominous for the world. If China wants to dominate the world, it dominates through compassion, kindness and understanding and forgiveness. You can't dominate the world by having an unforgiving nature because everyone becomes frightened of you. And if everything, and that's what communists came about, because the intrinsic fear built up into so much of society over this millennium in China, eventually gave rise to the people, the poor people, wanting a better system materially. And now, although the people in China have got a better material outcome, and it's fantastic what they've done, what they're doing though is oppressing the spirituality of the people, which is intrinsically, everyone's an individual, even the Chinese, are individuals. It should be allowed a little, otherwise what is it? The oneness that everyone thinks in exactly the same political correctness? Prisoner China? Is that what it is? It's a very sad state of affairs if the Chinese can't take a little bit of understanding of philosophy from Christianity and say, well, people, not everyone's perfect, but if you ostracize them for what? Ever? You can't say after 5 years you can go back and after 6 months of being ostracized. That's a horrible thing to do to people. A prisoner in our homes because of what? I don't know what transgression, walked across the roads or drank too much booze or whatever they've done. But you can say, hang on a minute. If you're going to punish people for forever, that's cruel. That doesn't set a good example. It's scary, it's dystopian, it's not civilized. That's not civilized. The great civilizations in the world, the Babylonian, which is one of the greatest civilizations that's ever lived, the rulers there, they had a code, if you like, and But people weren't, I mean, the code was pretty strict, but they had some kind of empathy that things were more human as a humanistic system. Now, where the world's going with the political correctness is dehumanising society, where the feminists in the West are no longer acting like female humans. They're acting like something that's as if the idea of female itself is something aberration. Well, it's actually not. A feature, a natural, organic thing to have. It's part of biology to be a female, so it's part of biology to be a male. But the feminists in Australia, in America, Australia and England now, they don't recognise biology anymore, which proves they've got some serious cognition problems when they can't recognise that as a thing called biology. How can they even go through life and not understand biology, basic biology? That means the culture is based on genders. All cultures are based on genders. Without gender, there is no culture. Let's place. Okay, but cultures are based on what? The sort of the fission between male and female. That's what, and the balance. And this thing, but in China, which have got a good female and male balance, and one thing about it, I'll say that Chinese have got a really good female and male balance. It's something wonderful. It's very sweet. But nonetheless, it's worth repeating that a society that does not send out perfect goods, poor quality stuff, is getting better and better, should not be criticising, should not be so making out that it's so perfect itself. Because it seems to be held back by fear. And that's a Chinese light, by the way. This is a problem. They've got a Chinese solar light, and now I'm in the dark because these unreliable Chinese solar lights. So I'll end that story on that. Coincidence? Yes, but that's China. Want us to make out it's perfect, but we buy this stuff here, and it lasts a few weeks, and we wasted our money and think, well, I'll buy from America, or I'll go and look online and see if I can get quality stuff next time. It's do not judge, in other words, to make out that you're perfect by judging others, because that's the greatest imperfection ever put into anyone. We've had so many of these perfect people, Hitler, Stalin, and all the other perfect people. No one was quite as good as them, and China must be very, very careful it doesn't go down that road.